Hey, what's up everybody? Gabe here, and I found a dirt road. I don't know how long it's gonna last. Probably, oh no, it's a dead end. It's not gonna last long at all. There's a couple more down there. So, just a little quick exploration. Sorry I'm starting out, kind of a weird intro, but I wanted to take advantage of this little tiny section of dirt road that I found while I could. It's pretty hard packed. This might as well be pavement. I would not have any confidence issues on my XSR on this road or anything like that. Oh, no stop sign. That's a little sketch. Okay. Either. This is now it's basically kind of crappy pavement again. So whatever. It's it's something. All my other riding on this bike has been on actual pavement so far. So you know we're giving it a shot here. Oh, it looks like it's just going to become pavement again. Oh well. Okay. So that's fine. So let's talk about what's up. So obviously back out on the CRF. Been waiting a couple days for a couple reasons. One, it's been really cold again. Keeps dropping to like 4 or 5 degrees during the day. 6 if you're lucky, you know. Okay, that's a dead end, so we're not gonna bother. Probably goes by some dude's house. Don't be like, what the hell. So yeah, been bad weather. Oh, here's a hole. And also I did have COVID, or I do have COVID, I suppose I should say, because it's not quite over yet. I mean, the fever's gone. And I'm not coughing my lungs out every 2 seconds, but I did have a lot of mucus, a lot of chest congestion. I didn't really have any like trouble breathing, and I didn't have the like freaky like can't smell anything anymore stuff. So I'm good there. I didn't have any real bad consequences. Just had a couple of pretty miserable days. But like I said, it was too cold to ride anyway. So honestly, not that big of a loss as far as I'm concerned. That's just how it goes. So yeah, while I wouldn't recommend the experience, at least for me, it turned out to be not so bad. So today's video is going to be about what bikes I didn't buy and why I didn't buy them, kind of. I'm going to just preface this by saying in my last video, I mentioned that I basically bought this bike because I thought it was cool, and that was the overriding reason. And that's the TLDR. Honestly, I just think this bike is really cool. Competition inspired, like sharp chassis, modern suspension, peppy engine, you know, like it's cool. That's it. That's the only reason. I could afford it. It was cool. There's downsides to this bike. There's an aggressive maintenance schedule. There's a very high price to buy it, and then there's that extra money you need to basically spend on the exhaust and the ECU to get it to run smoothly. That's all kind of negative, and all the other bikes I'm going to talk about don't have those problems really. Well, one of them is equally or even more expensive, but that's about it. All the other stuff is like not the case. So you know, that's the short answer if you're just wondering why I bought this bike. Because I thought it was cool, and because I could afford it, and that's about it. I don't have like a magical reason past that. That's it. So, what bikes didn't I buy? Well, the first and most obvious bike I didn't buy is the DRZ400. I've already had a DRZ400. I had one for 3 years. I sold it in 2019. I really liked it. It was one of my favorite bikes that I've owned, and it was really hard to not just buy another one in a lot of ways. I just kind of wanted to buy another one because it's comforting. I knew everything about it already. I knew all the ups and downs. It's a lot more affordable than this bike. Out the door, I don't know what out the door, but sorry, MSRP new on a DRZ400 in Canada is like 8,100 Canadian, I think, something like that. And this one is like 13 something, to give you an idea of the difference. There's a $5,000 difference new for new before you've paid a single fee or tax or anything. So it's pretty rough. The DRZ doesn't need a Vortex ECU because it doesn't have an ECU because it has a carburetor. So it's smooth out of the box. You can tune it with a jet instead of an expensive computer in the midst of a chip shortage. You know. And yeah, I mean, I ran mine with a stock exhaust and I was perfectly happy. So there's no reason to mess with that and spend more money, really. So there's some downsides, but I mean, okay, that carburetor is annoying in a province where 4 months of the year the bike sits in the garage. You know, gas gets old, that sucks. Stabilizer can only go so far, ultimately. What else? It also it only has 5 speeds, and it's a little high revved on the highway there. It's not super awesome on the highway. It's like what I would consider the kind of minimal actually I'm gonna go straight. The minimal kind of like level of acceptable for the highway. I think that bike is how I would consider it. Anything kind of less than that, I think would be a turnoff on the highway. So okay, you can deal with that, but like less than that, no good. I think that's where I'd say the DRZ. And finally, maybe the biggest one is heavier. It's like 40 pounds heavier than this. Now, a little bit of that is that stock for stock, that bike holds more gas. This bike, you can only put 7.5 liters in the stock tank. I think a DRZ stock tank's like 10.4, if I remember. I'm pulling that number slightly out of my ass, but I think that's the case, 10.4 liters. So, you know, that a little bit of that extra weight comes from like almost 3 more liters of gas, right? So that makes sense. But still, that's not 40 pounds. There's definitely a difference there. So those are and of course the maintenance. The maintenance is actually the real advantage. Sorry, if you can get past the money, I mean, the maintenance is like, it's way less frequent. You can just, you know, you can do maintenance on that bike once a season unless you really, really ride it a lot. Like, not a problem. So those are the kind of on paper advantages of a DRZ. So why not get it? Well, the real reason isn't, you know, any of that stuff. Isn't this bike's a little lighter or whatever, or the suspension's better. I mean, those are reasons, but the real reason is because I already had the DRZ400, because it otherwise pretty much fit what I want. I want to build a lightweight adventure build to do some traveling and some off-road, not some hardcore enduro stuff, but, you know. And that bike, the DRZ400, fit my requirements. Like, it was okay. The only reason I didn't get it was because attempting to kind of, no, that's a good way to get hit by a car. Yeah, these guys don't care. They're just going to turn. So, yeah, okay, sorry. The only reason I didn't get it, basically, even though it largely fit all my requirements, was because I already had one and I wanted to experience a new bike, and I was in a position to experience a new bike. I like experiencing new bikes, and it's not like they're easy to borrow or rent or, you know, do test rides on. There is demo days, and when demo days start coming back to Canada, maybe this season or next season, I am going to make an effort to try to get out to 1 or 2, although I hear that most of them don't want you to film anyway, and kind of the point of me doing it would be to film it, so I don't know. Dealers around here will not give you a test ride. Forget it. Not possible. They don't want to deal with the risk. It's just how it is. You know, you buy bikes sight unseen. That's just how it goes. So because of that, buying a bike is the way to experience a new one, basically, and this was a way to do that. I wanted to try the kind of hottest Dualsport on the street that wasn't made by KTM, right? KTM makes all the kind of aggressive, sporty Dualsports, and Japan still makes kind of old school stuff or very, very mild detuned stuff like the CRF450 or the KLX300. Those bikes are coming up next, but this was new, and this was a different design philosophy behind it, and it cost a lot more too. But again, in the same range as those KTMs, so not outrageous or anything. So yeah, that's the main reason I didn't get another DRZ. I would have been perfectly happy with the DRZ, but I think that I was really eager to try something new, and I was in the position where I could make that happen. So I decided to do this instead. So let's talk about some of the other bikes that, unlike the DRZ, maybe didn't meet all my kind of requirements for the like kind of lightweight ADV bike. So we mentioned KTM. Let's talk about them now. So the KTM EXC-F or the 350, and I guess by extension the Husqvarna versions of those bikes, the FE501 and 350, whatever. I don't know what it's called. The Husqvarnas are too tall out of the box. No amount of concept seat. Oh, which I didn't mention, but I'm sitting on because it arrived literally minutes before I made this video. I was like driving out. I had my bike out. I had my gear on. I was literally about to close the garage door and leave, and then the FedEx truck pulled up, and I knew what it was carrying. So I got all my crap back off, and I signed the papers, and I installed my new seat before going. And yes, it's awesome. Okay, back on topic. So the KTMs, the Huskies are too tall, so let's talk about the KTMs. I'm going to just consider it to be the same bike because the difference between them is 150cc. It's not very big. There's a power difference, but probably either would have been powerful enough. No, the major difference and the price difference between them is really small too. And so is the weight difference, frankly, so whatever. I feel like they both exist because of like racing or whatever other, maybe license restrictions or something. So let's just assume we're talking about the 500. It is more powerful, and it is lighter than this bike. The suspension is certainly in the same realm. So why not get it, right? Well, I think the problem with that bike is the maintenance. Now, I know this bike has an aggressive maintenance schedule. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely does. But 1,000-kilometer oil changes are more palatable than 500-kilometer oil changes. And like every 5 times you fill up with gas on the stock tank, by the way, never mind once you go to IMS, you're going to have to change the oil at 500 kilometers. And the other thing is, a little speed up there. The other thing is that even once that's done, it's not just oil changes or even valve checks. It's also that the top end needs to be rebuilt pretty often. This bike claims 20,000 mile top end rebuilds. That bike is, I don't remember the number, but I remember it being a heck of a lot lower, like uncomfortably low. So that was a big turnoff for me. That bike is more expensive, but I think out the box, the throttle response is fine, so there's no need for the ECU and the exhaust. As I mentioned in my last video, that was a point I disagreed with another CRF450 YouTuber on. Basically that it's a required mod for this bike, but it's a required mod for every fuel-injected Dualsport. I disagree, because the EXC-F500 doesn't need it for smoothness, only if you want to extract more power from it. And I think it's probably pretty powerful out of the box, so it's not really a requirement in the same way. Oh, sorry. I still do have some COVID going. Still some mucus in the lungs there. Not my favorite. Really not fun in the helmet, honestly. I didn't really think of that before I left. So, that said, you know, the EXC-F500 otherwise was pretty cool, and the price is higher, but it would have, the vortex and all that, it puts it on par. So, you know, if the maintenance intervals were the same, I would have absolutely considered it for sure. I mean, it's lighter still. Like, why wouldn't you consider it? But the kind of consensus in the back-to-back stuff is that bike is better for hardcore off-road, and this one is better on the road. And because I do intend to kind of use it in the dual sport sense and not just the off-road enduro whatever sense, I think that, you know, maybe that would have been a little too far over one side rather than the other. This bike's pretty good on the road, so, you know, you wouldn't want it to be bad on the road, I think, anyway, because I am going to do a decent amount of road kilometers on mine also. So, I could have taken that little dirt road there, maybe at some point, although it's pretty straight and pretty dusty with those cars on it. So, okay. Next bike after the KTMs, the other direction, the little 300s. CRF450 and EXC-F300. I'll leave the CRF Rally for a little bit after, because they had some extra points that I think are cool, but the problem with the two 300s really is that they're too slow. If I never went faster than this, it would be alright. You know, for this kind of speed, those bikes are totally competent, totally fine. The problem is that if you try to go on the freeway with those things, I mean, the KLX 300 top speed is 130 kilometers an hour. That's too slow for a top speed, because the freeway here, in the right lane, you're going to do probably 110, maybe 120 in between major cities, like when you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. The freeway goes fast around here. People roll. And if you're the guy that everybody's passing and you're on a 300-pound Dualsport, oh man, that's just risky. Like when a big 18-wheeler passes you, and now you're stuck in crosswinds on the freeway, and your bike's like tapped out. No. That's just an uncomfortable situation to be in. I don't want to be there. So, to me, you need to go a little faster than that. And those bikes also have some subframe issues where when you mount luggage on the back, you can have problems off-road where, you know, they have issues. The other thing is, you know, compared to a DRZ, they have somehow worse suspension, which is remarkable considering how old the DRZ's design is, but it has like kind of a mid-range suspension, and it's got a lot more adjustability, and frankly, most people think it's straight up just better for off-road riding than those other bikes, which are really meant to be kind of beginner bikes and very affordable. On a dirt road, I don't think you'd tell the difference, but on a trail you might. Now those bikes are lighter than the DRZ. They both come in at right around 300 pounds, so they're a little heavier than this, but a lot closer in comparison to the DRZ again. And they're cheaper. They're even cheaper than the DRZ. MSRP on those bikes in Canada is $7,000 about. The downside, and here it is, nobody had any in stock. They're completely unfindable. Used or new, I couldn't find one. Could find some CRF450s, but that's even slower, plus it's heavier. That bike weighs what a DRZ weighs, and it makes half the horsepower. To me, the CRF450RL makes no sense on paper when you could buy a DRZ400 instead. So, yeah, that's why those bikes are out. And finally, I guess the last bike I kind of considered seriously is the KTM 690 Enduro R. Back when I bought my KTM 790 Adventure, when I was planning to replace my DRZ400 and CBR600RR, I wanted a bike that could kind of do both, and I thought I could do it with the KTM 790. But before the 790, I seriously considered a 690. And had I done that, well, maybe this would be a very different conversation right now, because maybe I wouldn't be on this bike, I'd still be on my 690. So why not get it now? Why not go to that bike now? Well, of the lot, it's the most expensive. Used options are not that common, and with the used market being the way it is, they're not a good discount either. So that's kind of the main reason, is that, the price. The other biggest problem I have with that bike is the weight. It's even heavier than a DRZ. It's creeping up. And sure, it makes 75 horsepower, but I don't need that on a trail. Or 70 or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I don't need that on a trail. I don't need this much horsepower on a trail. I don't need 30 more. It's really good on the road, having that power, of course. But I don't need the weight that comes with it. You know? I like that it has much less frequent maintenance intervals. I like that it holds lots of oil. I like that there's a big community and people have made really nice, capable, around the world ADV builds with it, so I know it's possible to do. This bike is newer and less popular, so there's the YouTuber I mentioned, John T. Young, who's done fantastic work in this regard. John T. Young is the premier source on YouTube of CRF450RL and RL information, I think, and his lightweight ADV build really kicks ass, and a lot of my ideas are straight up coming from him. I'm not going to pretend anything else here. So, but if you look at the 690 Enduro R, there's a lot more people out there doing it because it's been around longer, it's more popular, and so on. So yeah, the big thing I have with that bike is it's heavier and manages to even be more expensive. And finally, there's some fuel pump issues with reliability that just freak me out, and I'd really like to avoid that. So yeah, those are the other bikes. I mean, now that I think about it, that's pretty much what I considered. I didn't consider a DR650 or a KLR650. The first Dualsport I ever rode was a DR650. My friend has one, and I didn't like the ergonomics, and it's heavy, and it's slow and air-cooled, and it's okay. I mean, it's an okay bike, especially if you're going to primarily be a street rider with it. But, you know, it's a Dualsport for me, and I wanted an off-road focus on my Dualsport. So it makes less sense there, I think. And then, what about KLR650? Well, if the DR650 was the first Dualsport I ever rode, it belonged to my friend when I rode it. The KLR650 is actually the first Dualsport I ever owned. Because I own a KLR650. I own a 1987 KLR650 that is the most clapped out death trap you've ever seen. It's not at my house, it's not in my garage, it's on my buddy's farm still. I will one day recover it and make a video about it, but yeah, it needs more money spent on parts to get it going again than it's actually worth in running condition, even in today's market. So I don't have a lot of motivation to get it done beyond the kind of fun of doing the project, because it's going to cost me $2 or $3 grand to get it going again, probably, and be playable, and I don't like that bike that much. So yeah, I own one. I don't want another one. I kind of regret the one I have because I'll never be able to get rid of it. But hey, I paid like $800, so what are you going to do? So yeah, that's it. Those are pretty much the other dual sports on the market. I think I got everything that I considered. Yeah, because everything else... I guess one more bonus round. The KTM 390 Adventure and the Versys X300. The same. So those bikes, instead of being lightweight, dual sport style bikes, they're lightweight, real like ADV kind of street oriented. So why not get one? Well, the Ninja 300 derived, what is it? Versys 300X, there you go. Has that engine that revs really high, and I've had like a tiny 300cc bike before that you have to rev really high, and it wouldn't really be fun off-road. The other thing is it doesn't have a lot of ground clearance, and it doesn't have a lot of protection elements, so I'd be kind of worried about really riding it off-road. So that's why I didn't get that one. The KTM kind of has all the same problems minus the revving thing, because it does have a single. But there's the weird ergos problem that Ryan from Fort 9's video points out, and I think you could fix that probably with foot pegs and stuff, and a new bar. But still, that's kind of a bit disconcerting. And the other thing is the RC390 derived engine is like famous for not being reliable. So yeah, I decided not to go that route, but I did think about it, and I think you can actually find those bikes too. So I've at least seen the 300X, the Kawasaki, in stock before, so maybe that bike's still available on the market. But yeah, I thought this would be much more off-road and much more interesting. So that's why I didn't really consider those. So that's it. I'm done with listing bikes I didn't buy and why I didn't buy them. It's getting cold, so I'm going to head home. And, I'm going to kind of finish recovering from COVID. I don't know. I guess my next video is going to be an XSR video. I don't know when that'll be. I won't be commuting to the office this week because I need to isolate for the rest of the week. So that's how that goes. But maybe I'll still get a ride in. I think it's going to be like 15 degrees on Friday if the long-term forecast is at all accurate. So I'll definitely get a ride in on Friday if that's going to be the case. And I will, I will record it probably. So I don't know what I'll talk about, but I'll think of something. So with that said, thanks for watching. Sorry, I know this was like a pretty rambly video and there's some unpleasant coughing, but I am sick and I'm still kind of getting it back together here. So yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.